It's a normal Sunday morning. 3 separate services are being held here, in the same place, at the same time, just meters from each other. The Armenian Orthodox are conducting Mass in Armenian in a chapel above the church. The Assyrian Orthodox Mass is conducted in Aramaic, the language spoken by Jesus himself. While the Roman Orthodox service is conducted in Arabic. This is the story of Christianity's holiest church. Jerusalem is a divided city. It's been this way throughout its modern history. Over nearly 4 decades, the Israeli authorities have tried to unify it as their capital, but today the rift between its inhabitants is deeper than ever. Arab and Jewish residents live in different districts. They speak different languages, attend different schools, read different newspapers, watch different television channels. They live different lives. The Arab quarter looks, feels and smells like any other Arab city. Traders and shoppers jostling for space, and women wearing hijabs are all features of this part of the city. The Jewish quarter, by contrast, feels and sounds altogether different. This part of the city is Western in appearance, and its outlook is distinctly Jewish. There's no mixing between the two. You won't find Arabs in the Jewish quarter, nor Jews in the Arab quarter. But because the city is small and of great importance to Judaism, Christianity and Islam, it's a place where all have to interact. And there is no better example of the multicultural, multi-faith character of Jerusalem than one of its most famous sites. This is no ordinary quay, and this is no ordinary building. On Christmas Day in the year 800, the day of Charlemagne's coronation in Rome, the new emperor is said to have been given a similar key by the Patriarch of Jerusalem as a token of respect. Today's copy belongs to Wajih Nusayba. Surprisingly perhaps for the doorkeeper of such a site, Nusayba, like his predecessors, is a Muslim. Surprising, because this is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the holiest shrine in Christendom. Every year, hundreds of thousands of pilgrims and tourists, the faithful alongside the curious, visit the site where Christians believe Jesus Christ was buried. The original church was built in 330 AD by Empress Helena, the mother of the Roman Emperor Constantine. It houses the last stations of the cross on the Via Dolorosa, the journey which Christians believe Jesus took to his crucifixion. Here too it's claimed his body was washed and buried. The practice of having a Muslim guard the sepulchre goes back to the 7th century. It was then the Islamic ruler Caliph Omar took Jerusalem and put one of his Arab warriors, an ancestor of the Nusaybas, in charge of the shrine.
When the Caliph Omar came to Jerusalem in the 7th century, my predecessors came with him. We entered the city as conquerors. Caliph Omar received the keys of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre from the Roman Orthodox Patriarch Sepharinius. And from that time on, we are entrusted with the opening and closing the church, and we pass it from father to son.
In his role as key keeper, Wajih Nusayba has met past and present world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and George Bush before he became President of the United States.
The truth is that I saw Putin as a great man. He visited the site and showed a lot of respect for it, as opposed to President Bush, who was in such a hurry that the visit did not last longer than 5 minutes. In fact, President Putin sent me a gift after his visit.
Wajih Nusayba's only son, Ubadah, is set to follow in his father's footsteps. Like his ancestors, Ubadah is very aware of the historic significance of his role. It's a matter of family honor.
This is like a long march, and we have to finish it. We started it, and we have to complete it to the end.
The same family has not only guarded the church, but has acted as an arbiter among the 7 feuding Christian denominations. For the Armenian Church, which is one of the 3 main groups here, it's an arrangement which works well.
Sultan Salahuddin has ordered that a Muslim doorkeeper keep the peace among the different Christian factions, and I think this has been beneficial to the Christian denominations, and we live almost harmoniously with our Muslim doorkeepers.
For others, though, this arrangement is less than satisfactory.
Muslims have the keys because the government of the time, the Muslim government, gave the keys to these families, and they can be seen as representatives of the government. The giving of the keys was an act of sovereignty, and it's part of history. There's nothing we can do about that.
Although Wajih admits to being deeply touched by the Christian rituals, he never prays inside the church. Instead, he goes to the mosque next door. The Omar Mosque, built and named after the 7th century conqueror of Jerusalem, is where Omar himself used to pray. He refused to use the church in case it encouraged Muslims to take it over for their own religious purposes.
Allahu Akbar.
And it was in this same spirit of tolerance and coexistence that Omar compiled a covenant regulating the affairs of the local community. A new marble replica of the original covenant hangs near the mosque entrance.
The Omari covenant. This is an assurance of peace and protection by the servant of Allah, Omar, commander of the believers to the people of Jerusalem. He gives them an assurance of protection for the lives, properties, churches, and crosses. They shall not be occupied, demolished, or taken away. They shall not be coerced in their religion, nor shall any of them be harmed.
It's not only Muslims who value the covenant, Christians too.
العهدة العمرية لم تكتب لكي تكون في فترة زمنية محددة أو في تاريخ معين.
The Omari covenant was not written to be restricted to a certain date or a historical period. Instead, it was written to form a way of life, culture, and thought. This is how we view it. And we at the Orthodox Church continuously stress the value of the Omari covenant because it illustrates the historical context to our relationships. We link it to the present and its value in cementing the relations and avoiding signs of division and sectarianism. We're one people, one family, Muslims and Christians in this holy land. And the Omari covenant ought to be an important element in strengthening this relationship.
في ترسيخ وفي تقوية هذه العلاقة.
The Christian Church's many identities and fragile harmony are reflected in the distribution of duties between the denominations. Today, the incense ritual is performed by the Roman Orthodox, followed by the Armenians, and then the Copts, each according to its own protocol. In many ways, the building is a microcosm of Jerusalem itself. The historical divisions, the constant battle against foreign interference. The tombs of Godfrey de Bouillon, Jerusalem's conqueror, and his brother Baldwin I, the first Crusader king of Jerusalem, are within the church. Not far away is the place of prayer and meditation used by Salah ad-Din, the mighty Muslim commander who in 1187 retook Jerusalem from the Crusaders. More than 8 centuries later, the issue of ownership and occupation are as heated as ever.
The Orthodox Church is the first church with the oldest heritage, and it is the church that one day used to own all of the holy sites. The other churches were only able to exist here as a result of the arrival of the Crusaders, and only then did those churches come.
We came after the Crusades because the Crusaders left in 1187 and we basically came in 1233. We came with the permission of the rulers here, and I don't see it as a problem. I mean, we're proud of our history.
The argument as to who has the primary claim to the sepulchre is as old as the building itself. First in line, so it claims, is the Ethiopian Church.
Ethiopia has long history with the Holy Land since the Old Testament, since the 1st century.
Over the last 50 years, one particular territorial dispute has come to a head. Who owns the Deir Sultan monastery? The monastery is directly above the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, perched on top of it. Both the Copts and the Ethiopians have long claimed to be the sole rightful guardians. The matter was complicated by the Israeli occupation of East Jerusalem in 1967. The Copts blamed the Israelis for handing over Deir Sultan to the Ethiopians. For their part, the Ethiopians, who claim to have always had a presence in the Holy Land, say it's theirs not by gift, but by right.
هذا دير السلطان الدير القبطي.
This is Deir al-Sultan, the Coptic monastery which housed the Ethiopians as guests of the Coptic church.
عند الكنيسة القبطية في البيوت
It is in these small huts where Coptic families used to live.
اللي كانت فيها عائلات قبطية.
Whenever Ethiopians came here, a Coptic family would move out to make way for them as guests of the Coptic church.
كضيوف عند الكنيسة القبطية.
It stayed like this for a long time.
ضيوف عنا.
Now it belongs to us first from the beginning. We started living in the Holy Land first, and the Copts came after us.
في 25 أبريل
On the 25th of April in 1970, we were at the church praying during Easter Mass. My sister was walking outside the monastery and she saw the Israeli army standing at the doors. They were breaking the locks and then replacing them with their own. It wasn't the Ethiopians, but the Israeli army, and they placed security cordons. My sister came running to tell us that they changed the keys and that the army was outside.
No, the places belongs to us before the Copt. The Copt took from us the places, or so many places.
The political situation at the time was very acrimonious between Egypt and Israel. There was no peace treaty yet, and there was great hostility between the two. And that was a way to get back at Egypt because they were enemies.
Well, we are trying to solve in Christian way, to discuss the two sister churches. But now there is no solution because, there is no agreement between the churches, and the mother churches are trying to solve the problem. The patriarchs are trying to solve the problem, but now, until now, there is no solution. But we are waiting for that, for a solution.
But some of those mother churches have already made up their mind.
نحن بالنسبة إلينا نحن ندعم موقف الكنيسة القبطية.
For us, we support the position of the Coptic Church. We respect and value the Coptic Church and its role, especially its spiritual, social, and humanitarian role, represented by His Holiness Pope Shenouda. I believe that what happened was an act of revenge against the Coptic Church because of its position and its leaders' position towards the peace treaties with Israel. So this step was a vengeful act and one of blackmail and pressure on the Coptic Church.
But beyond these local factional disputes is an issue bigger than them all, and one which may ultimately focus the attention of Jerusalem's Christian community on greater unity. That problem is emigration. Many Christians are abandoning the Holy Land for a better life for themselves and their families. The reason, it's argued, is the Israeli presence in East Jerusalem and the other occupied territories.
I
believe that everybody recognizes this fact, and that includes our Muslim brothers who we share this country with. They all recognize the importance of a Christian presence in this Holy Land. Because what is the alternative? How can we talk about Palestine? How can we talk about Jerusalem, the place where the church was established and where the gospel was spread, and for it to be devout of Christians? This is illogical and beyond comprehension. For the land of the birth of Christ and His mission to no longer have Christian presence, there are many reasons for the migration of Christians from this land, but the main one is to do with the occupation and the effects of the occupation. The economic and social catastrophes generated by the occupation has forced many of them to immigrate.
At the end of a busy day, Wajih Nusayba locks up the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and heads home to his family. But he'll be back tomorrow, early, to open the door again at 4 in the morning.